In 2013, the UN Secretary General's high-level panel of eminent persons made a call for a data revolution. Since then, Pan-African organizations like the ECA, AUC, and the African Development Bank have been working to ensure that the continent is not left out of the revolution and to ensure that both legal and institutional changes happen to actualize the need. The meeting of Directors General of National Statistical Offices on Data Revolution held in Addis Ababa, January 20 to 22nd, is one of such efforts to concretize the move to accelerate the continent's move in harnessing the full benefits of the data revolution. Speaking at the opening of the meeting, Oliver Chinganya of the African Development Bank said,
"From the African Development Bank, we stand resolute to walk the talk in working with you and provide the necessary support, both in terms of technical and financial assistance within the available resource envelope. I must hasten to mention that at the bank, the issue of data revolution is at the core of the agenda and falls squarely on what we call now the high fives, which I will discuss during my presentation a little earlier on, in the areas of Light Up and Power Africa, Feed Africa, Integrate Africa, Industrialize Africa, and improve the quality of life of the people of Africa. This means that data generated from the data revolution, from all this business that is being discussed, will be critical to inform and monitor progress in the broader areas of transformation agenda for Africa as imposed in the high fives. It's a hope, therefore, that this meeting will come up with a roadmap or an action plan on how to unpack and implement the concept of data revolution.
In his remarks, Deputy Executive Director of the ECA, Dr. Abdallah Hamdok, reiterated the need to harmonize statistical methodologies in Africa. He said,
"Therefore, besides the need for data revolution, to expand the capacity to produce statistics in all domains, there is also a need to harmonize the methodologies across the continent. In this regard, the strategy for harmonization of statistics in Africa stands as a cornerstone whose link with the regional and global agenda needs to be clearly identified. In addition, the African Charter of Statistics is here to guide your thoughts during this forum."
Dr. Reni Kwasi, Director of Economic Affairs of the African Union Commission, called on African countries to fund and produce their own statistics, arguing that what is meant by data revolution is that African countries will produce their own statistics in real time, and they must also produce reliable data in the interest of the populations and for development. Dr. Dozie Ezigbalike, Chief Data Technology Section Head of the African Center for Statistics, had this to say about data revolution.
We came up with a definition that is in terms of what we are doing, in terms of a process, in terms of action. We defined it as a process of bringing together diverse data communities to embrace a diverse range of data sources, tools, and innovative technologies to bring together disaggregated data for decision-making, service delivery, and citizen engagement, and also to make information available for Africa to own its narrative.
Other participants shared their views on data revolution and the importance of statistical data in the development process in Africa.
Of data, those are happening, but largely they are ad hoc and they are unorganized. In fact, where it happens at times it's in the private sector, so the statistics system has not grown to encapsulate all those other initiatives.
Why is it so?
Well, organizationally and our legislations are old-fashioned, and therefore they haven't developed to a level where they can take advantage of new sources of information, as well as looking at the common good. Take, for instance, any of the mobile companies. They own our public data. They own the number of minutes that we have talked. They own the number, and therefore they own you. They own the messages that we participate in, and they own you. And that data basically is your data. You pay for the minutes of use, But all that data is yours. Now, can you imagine when that data, which is yours and mine and everybody else, is pooled as a public data? Then we really have very good data. But then we need a framework that legislates and makes sure that we harvest that data as our data. So those modernization of legislations is very, very crucial in that space.
Do we even have the capacity, if we have the legislation to harness this data, do we have the capacity to even hold this data before processing?
Well, for you to have the capacity, you need 2 or 3 things. Obviously, you need the technical competence to deal with data, which is statistics, and in many African statistics offices, we do that all the time. You need the legislative capacity to enforce, and that belongs to the political system, the parliament, and of course, you need the kinds of money and resources to run this. These are available in differing degrees in different countries. But the capacity to legislate, certainly that one is there. And of course, to enforce, it might take a little bit of time, but those are data holdings that should be harvested.
Yes, data revolution, first of all, let me just say a couple of things. It's been defined as an explosion of the data in terms of the quantity and the quality. I think for Africa, really, this is something that was embraced many years ago, except that it is not in the format that is being presented at the moment. Basically, in Africa, what has happened is a data revolution. Countries have realized that they need data, and to inform decision making, to inform policy formulation, to inform program implementation, and so forth. So, in a way, data revolution in Africa started a long time ago, except that we never called it data revolution at all. So it is there, it has started. We're now talking about countries on the continent that have been able to run censuses ever in the last round of census in 2010, where we had about over 50 countries having a census being conducted in countries. That in itself is an indication that countries appreciate that data is important. So, and that's part of the data revolution. We're now talking about civil registration. Civil registration equally is part of the data revolution. We're now talking about countries having to see the need to register the birth, marriage, and so forth, everything that engulfs or embraces the civil registration. We're talking about what we call the International Comparison Program, which is basically a program that compares prices, price levels of countries across the region, the volume of production across the region with the standardized measure. That is data revolution that already countries have already adopted.
So to what extent is that influencing statistical data processing on the country?
A lot of it is really being influenced by that kind of process, in the sense that we have seen the way countries have invested resources, and not only looking up to the donors, countries themselves putting in more money towards statistics, because they realize that without statistics, they are nowhere. And therefore, statistics become so important to the heads of states, to policymakers in the countries. And we've seen a lot of the countries even revolutionizing the way statistics offices operate. They're now talking about autonomous bodies. Why? Because they want to be seen to be independent with less influence from governments. And that is what we've been looking for.
Is that going to happen?
It's already happening. In a number of countries, we have these autonomous agencies. We are talking about countries like Uganda. It's an autonomous agency. Countries like Botswana, they just did it recently. In Tanzania, it's an executive office. In Kenya, they have the same autonomous agency. In Namibia, they have the same autonomous agency. So this is a sign that statistics is important and must be given really a position of respect within the country and of course on the continent.
Africa has done quite a number of steps already towards data revolution. If you are talking about the SASHA, if you are talking about the African Charter,
what is SASHA?
It's a strategy to harmonize statistics at continental level. So this was developed by the African Union Commission, and it's like a guiding tool to harmonize statistics at the continental level. And this is also a pillar whereby most of the national statistical systems have to align their activities too. But this comes in the framework that at national level, countries develop what they call a national strategy for the development of statistics. So whatever the country wants to do in a span of 5 years or 3 years or 10 years is drafted in a national strategy for the development of statistics. So in this strategy, this is what Paris 21 supports the country on. So it is a consultative process, it is a national document, it's a framework that the country uses to mobilize resources, to make its longer term vision, and then how they can strategically tackle their vision, their longer term vision. And Paris 21 is really working with the countries to reach their visions.
Overall, do you think African countries are doing enough to make statistics an important and integral part of development agenda?
It remains a challenge. We are not yet there.
Why is it a challenge?
It's a challenge because statistics has not really been integrated in the planning process. And this is where statistics needs to move beyond just producing statistics, but towards producing information, so that the policymakers buy the information and integrate it into their planning process. We have to move out of just producing statistics because their policymakers are not as interested. But we have to move a little bit, produce information from the statistics that we produce. Then we will be on the same level with.
So what would it take to get policymakers interested?
There's need for more advocacy. There's need for more advocacy. We need to have champions in the process. So we have to identify quite high level people who have used and they use statistics within the policymakers. So those ones can help push around or motivate the others to use statistics. And especially this time when we don't want to leave anyone behind in the policy making.
At the end of the meeting, it is expected that a common understanding or position on the concept of data revolution and what it means for Africa, as well as consensus on the role of national statistical offices in its implementation, shall be reached. The meeting, among others, would also put up an action plan for implementing the data revolution in Africa based on the principles set in the African Data Consensus, SHASA, and the African Charter on Statistics, and serve as a preparation for the United Nations Statistical Commission in March 2016. This has been Emmanuel K. Dugbevi reporting in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia.